Hi, my name is Dick Lewis, and it's not working. It doesn't look like it's working. Okay, my name is Dick Lewis, and this presentation's on career planning and job searching. Okay, what you should do. Okay, the general steps to decide on what career you want to pursue, if you don't know. uh, you need to learn what educational or vocational qualifications that might be required to advance in that career and start pursuing them. You need to create or refine your resume, make a good resume. And you need to study how to successfully present yourself during an interview. What questions? Here's a little flow chart that shows the process of uh, planning for a career. Start off, you got to decide first and foremost, do you know what career you're going to go for? And if not, do some research on careers and find the career you want. And then, if that career is going to require some education or vocational training to advance later on, you need to start fulfilling that. Then you need to create a good resume or refine the one you got. Uh, and you create a core resume and then possibly target resumes, which you may use to emphasize your strong points for a particular job. After that, you need to network, either social media or clubs and so forth, find contacts, find out where the jobs may be, what the jobs, search the internet, use the job sites, and once you get through that, before you get a job, before you really answer a job, you need to be prepared to provide a good interview. And then once you get a job request, an interview request, need to go to the interview, have the interview, and then if you get a job offer, or if you don't, you go back through the process again. Keep looking. If you do, then you either accept or reject the job. This what career you pursue is one of the most important decisions you'll make. Uh, what do I want to do for the next 40 years? Okay, if it's just a job and you're not really interested in it, 40 hours a week for 40 years can become demanding, boring, and kind of hard on you. On the other hand, if you get to do what you really like to do and are really interested in, you can do 100 hours a week and it's just fun. Okay, we're all individuals and we have a lot of different possible careers to pursue. And each person likes a certain thing. Some people want to be police, some people want to be doctors. So you have to you have to see where your interests really are and to see if you are qualified to pursue that career. Okay, so first thing you might do, there are on the net some sites that evaluate a person's capability and kind of conclude if he's requested information, if he is a fit for a certain career, or what career, they'll come up with what career he's a fit for. I actually ran on one of these just for kicks after doing my career and all of that. And the result of the thing said would be a good fit for system design. And that's what I ended up doing all my career anyway. So that worked. But I think more important than that is your self-analysis. Let's get the laser going here. Wait a minute. There we go. Your self-analysis of following questions. What type of environment am I attracted to? Work environment. What role do I want to play in an organization? Do I want to be the president? Do I want to go up the technical side or the management side? things like that. You need to think about it. Once you kind of decide on a certain career path, you need to find all out about what the career needs. And like, let's say there's a lot of travel involved. Well, maybe that doesn't fit your lifestyle. Maybe that's not good. Maybe it doesn't fit values. Uh, Not everybody wants to be a bank robber, for instance. So you find out what you want to do, what you like, what you're qualified for, basically, what it's going to take, uh, what kind of education. Okay, then you research any companies you might be interested on the web. All right, find out about the companies and explore, as I said, the educational and vocational requirements to advance in this career. Fortunately, and you'll hear me mention internet all over the place because that provides a lot of tools for you to find and train for your next job, including some degrees and so forth, which are less expensive remotely as on the internet than they are in person on campuses. Department of Labor came in 2015, I guess it was, came out with a kind of an interesting chart, and it has two things. It has potential amount you'll earn per week per type of degree you have there, and also how much of the percent of times you might be unemployed with that particular level of degree. And as you can see, the higher the degree, the more money you'll make and the less time you'll be unemployed. Okay, so let's get into resume writing. You need a really good resume because that's the first step any potential employer is going to see, whether it's the HR section of a company or a manager or whatever. They're going to see your resume. So you really want to sell yourself on your resume, and you want to have it formatted in the format they expect, and helpful to them. Well, there's three general types of resumes. Reverse chronological is the most important, and that is where you actually show your experience in reverse order. Where are you now? Where were the job before this one, the one before that, and so forth. Employers are very interested in that sequence because they want to see, well, he's coming from the same kind of a job we have or that we're advertising, and that's good, or he's not. They want to look and see, well, has this guy progressed? He was at this level 3 jobs ago and he never went up, or he did go up, and that's good. So reverse chronological is the standard, let's call it. Functional is good if you have a gap, or the job you're applying for doesn't really match your recent experience, but it does a couple jobs back. Then what you want to do, you want to get the employer's eye on that experience of that other job. So you throw the dates away and you put the experience in the order that it applies to your position you're applying for. Okay, combination is like a functional, but it has also an additional section that shows the dates. And this is the order, the structure of the three types of resumes. And we'll just look at reverse chronological here. You've got a section that has your name on it and your contact information. Okay, you have the job or industry type and a little summary that you're going at the particular job. You're showing what you can do in that job and why you're the best candidate. Like your key competencies should match what you're going for. Then you have the experience in chronological order. After that, you have education and training. Now, if you're new, you don't have much education and much experience, and you're heavier in education, you reverse the order of these two. You put your resumes first, because the idea is people don't have much time. They read from start down to bottom of a resume. So what you want to show them is what the best you got first. Okay, then if you have any other awards, publications, affiliations, or volunteer work you've done, things like that, you need to create an additional section down here at the bottom. Okay, what you generate first is what we call a core resume, and that shows all of your experience, and normally in a chronological order. However, if in some cases you really want to express or emphasize certain things in your past, you will create a target resume from that core resume. One size does not fit all. Let me give you an example here. You got a core resume, you come in, you say, well, am I going for a management position or am I going for a technical? And based on which one you're going through, you emphasize your experience in that particular area. All right. That's one way to do it. And of course, the other way to do it, of course, is to choose the structure of the resume as functional, in some cases. Okay, so let's take the resume section by section. We've got contact information. You use a little larger font in bold for your name. And then you get your email address, and don't use a work email address. That's a no-no. Also, where you're currently at. Also, not a personal email address if it's not really professional. Phone number, and better your cell phone, so you can get contacted anywhere you're at. And state and city and state of your resident. Don't list your street address. Too many scams around. You don't know where your resume is going to end up. Okay, so and then a single line will have your name on it, and a single line will have the rest of the information in the contact information. Summary section. Okay, this is a high level. It shows your strengths and your key talents. All right, to show what kind of and you want to make it look like what you excel at, and you definitely want to relate it to the position you're going for. Experience section. And this is where, like in a chronological, you have your current job or your past job, and then the one before that and the one before that. And what you want to do is name the employer, company name you worked for, location where they're at, and the position you held, and basically, what you did. Then include any cases of where you may have gone beyond the call of duty, say, and done extra well, and actually had success where it wasn't really expected, and made some really good completed some really good challenges. Okay, education and training. Again, you want your degrees, your formal and your informal, like company schools and so forth, besides your regular degrees. And of course, you need the level of the degree, and you need the GPA if it's high, if it's a 3.5 or above, and any honors or awards you may have obtained in that. Now, after that, you might have a section. If you're going for a writer position, you might have a section on references to what documents you had created, or if they're known or whatever. And you never mention salaries, okay? But maybe you have awards, maybe you have letters of commendation, any good stuff like that, or any recognition is a good thing to list there, and you'll find a unique way to do that. Okay, when you write the resume, you got to be careful. You want to make sure everything is spelled right and the grammar is correct, and that's easy. Always run word checker, spell checker, which checks grammar too, on your resume, and keep it right. Then you should use probably extended vocabulary. Okay. Uh, Intelligence itself, as you get higher degrees and as you move up, you learn how to describe things more accurately. And how you do that is by extending your vocabulary. So if you can show you have some knowledge of of good words that do fit, and don't overuse them, just use them where they are applicable, where you can maybe make statements shorter but more succinct, more to the point, more accurate. Also, you can use what I would call wow words, things that are recognized that kind of show, oh yeah, that show activity, show experience, show accuracy, uh, and keywords. In any industry, you have certain terms that we use, okay, that go with the industry, and that shows you've been there. You're in that industry. For instance, in warehousing, we've got receive, put away, pick, pack, wave, shipping. A lot of terms that are normal. You want to work those into your resume at the appropriate places. Okay, here's a few examples of keywords for IT. System configuration, people know that. Technology right sizing, okay, stuff, product life cycle. All of these, they get thrown around during some phase, design phase or implementation in IT. And here's some wild words. Uh, Facilitate. Hey, instead of saying I made, I facilitated. Sounds better. Here's a sample resume, and it's my resume. And I'll say a couple things. First of all, yes, it's too long. It's for like 5 pages. Uh, but I have my reasons. And first of all, one of the main reasons was I was in demand. Okay. And if you couple that with the fact that, well, especially like Oracle ERP systems, a good high percentage of their staff are Indians from India. Uh, and resulting from that, a lot of the marketing terms that'll get uh, a position advertised the earliest will be Indian marketing terms. Now, the Indians that work for these marketing terms, they don't, like any marketing term, they don't get really deep in the weeds uh, in technical terms or experience and so forth. So the more they see, they say, "Oh, this guy's he's got to be qualified." Uh, so it's that plus being in demand for my position. Not many people were trying to get that, I guess. Put me in a point where, yes, I'm just going to write a lot of experience, and so be it. It makes 5 pages. Okay, there's other things that you should be aware of. And first of all, you have this overall summary at the top, okay? Your professional profile, that and the highlights. You want to really show your strengths, okay? And like my strength slide and guiding customers to successful keyword warehouse automation and integration, another projects by providing the necessary expertise, another keyword for good design and making systems work. Kind of simple in a way, but the right words to describe what I'm doing, what I bring to the party. Okay. The summary with the bullet points are great for this type of thing. They want to see what you can do, and in many cases, they're going to want to have you qualified for multiple type things. Not just design, but sometime marketing, sometime management, and that's what you try to do here. Is what have you done? And of course, the longer you work, the more easy that is to create. Okay, when we start the experience section structure here, then you have dates and you have the company you work for, and within that text you say where the company is located, where your job was, what your responsibilities basically were, and any special thing that you did there, of and beyond the call of duty. Okay, and then of course the next one is kind of dovetail, and you can detect or see any gaps or how close these fit as they go back in reverse order. Okay, here's a case of where, amongst other things, I mentioned one thing that I did that uh, was good for, again, not expected, but I really did a good job on. Okay, here's a bunch of them, and when we get down to here, here's a case of where I wrote special software bridge that allowed the customer to get in production, save time to get in production before he had uh, some implementation done on the system to control it. And what that did is allowed him to ship and make money earlier. Okay, and of course, a lot of this is about money making, and this is not just a responsibility. This is an extra thing. Okay, got to a point, and even I realized that's 5 pages is too much. I don't want to add any more. So I had a pot, and I said, prior to a certain date, I worked for these companies as doing this, and didn't have any dates or anything like that. And it just went back all the way to my service. Okay. Okay, the education part of it, again, as I said before, follows experience unless you're heavy on education and light on experience, and you reverse the position of those two. And you show what degree you have and from where. And then that's the formal. And then practical, you show all of the particular technical courses, in my case, that you took. Okay, now we're at interview preparation. And as I said before, you have to get armed with a good resume first. You have to be ready for an interview before you answer a job. Well, the first thing you ought to look at, of course, is what are your challenges? In other words, what what are you not ready for, or are you ready for? So you need to review some of these. Do you have a habit of uh, uh, rambling? Are you nervous? Too nervous? Do you have a story to tell? A lot of these are important, basically, and you can work on them when you role play. And you'll see later on, I'll mention role playing a number of times. And what that is going to be is you get a good friend and you tell that friend is be critical, and you play roles. He's the interviewer, you're the interviewee, and you have several sessions, and he jots down what what he liked about your responses and so forth, and more important, what he didn't like. Okay. Anyway, you should look at some of these challenges and see if they fit. There's one thing about down below here. Let me get the laser going here. Wait a minute. Is you can't think of a story for an example, and that may be in your case. However, let me point out, if you can tell a story that's relevant to the position you're applying for and or the question that you're responding to, that's like gold. I mean, that what happens is it changes a stressful type by the numbers interview. Everybody relaxes, and it's just two people talking. Stories are really great, and the more you have of them, the better you are. Can't be too long, but just short enough and succinct enough to really illustrate the response you're trying to give. Okay, I've got 3 or 4 slides here that display most type of questions, most specific questions that are asked uh, by the interviewer during the interview. And you really need to look at these and have responses in mind. And when you do the response for a question, try to keep it natural and not, and not like it's a canned response or, type of thing. Uh, that's probably easier than you think. You just, if you start, when a response sounds good, I think basically it's just anytime you're asked this same question, you're going to have different words. You know the answer so well. It's just what you want to frame it at the time. Okay, so and they'll surely ask you, tell me about yourself. So again, have a not too long, but a fairly short type of thing, and keep in mind not to be braggart, not be or arrogant about it, but confident. And the difference between being arrogant and competency, that's the one you got to work on. It's hard, and that's the one again will be detected by your role playing. But maybe instead of saying I managed 5 people for 5 years, you might say, well, I was fortunate to have a position of management for 5 years where I managed a team. Okay. Okay, so here's another batch of questions. Why do you want this job? Pretty important question. And I would advise against saying, for the money. uh, they're really looking for interest because a good employee is one that really likes what he's doing. And some of that you can foster as a manager, some of it you can't, and the real good people that really stand out are the people that like their job. Another reason for finding the career that you want to be in, that you're interested in. Okay, then some of these are hard, like this one here. Tell me about a major mistake you made. Well, what you try to frame that is, you might say, I made no mistakes, and that's possible, but you might try to choose a mistake where you've corrected or you can indicate in your response that, oh yeah, I did this and I surely learned that that was the wrong way to do it or whatever. So being humble is a good thing. It's a balancing act. You got to be confident, okay, but nicely. And you got to be humble, realizing, well, hey, me and the team and I did this. Not necessarily because they're looking for, can this person work with a team too? They're looking for a lot of a lot of capabilities during the interview. Most companies, anyway, and the higher the position, of course, the more they're really going to look for things, everything. Okay, another set of things. And again, if you go over the set and you have an answer, that's fine. That's cool. I would leave it alone. If you don't have an answer, then you need to kind of think about that more. What motivates you? Well, yeah, I love programming, whatever it is. And that's simple. Be honest again. It's a simple, honest answers they're looking for. And then tips for preparing for an interview. Okay. You want to be honest. I've found that honesty is the best policy ever. Look them straight in the eye. And again, some of the tough stuff is, hey, why is this gap in why didn't you go to work for a year here? Well, things were tight. I really tried, and they'll know economically when things got tight. Like I had a period where, oh man, everybody had overhired, including IBM. I happened to be working for IBM. I got caught after 3 years in the third 20,000 person layoff. That didn't hit the news, of course, but and IBM, I love IBM. IBM was the best moral company I've ever worked for. Of course, people mess things up too. So you had no immunity. The company had no immunity from some of the people they had. Okay, again, you want to be honest during the interview. Uh, you do want to bring paper and pen. Uh, Things you want to bring is your cell phone should be turned off. You don't bring a computer with you. You do bring paper and pen. You do bring a paper copy of your resume. You bring a paper copy of your references. Again, you don't give them any of this stuff until they ask for it. And listening is really an art. And I myself, I'm guilty of a very bad habit that I've been working on for years. And that is, I'm so anxious to contribute to a conversation, or that I end up over talking the other person. And in an interview, you really don't want to do that. Stay away from that. And that's another reason for because they may ask a question and then they may go on, okay, and not give you time to respond. So what you have to do is keep the answer for that question in your mind and wait till they stop talking and then answer that question. Uh, yeah, it's an art, I think, and the more you practice, this practice thing, the better you will become at it. If you're not already great, and you might be, who knows. Uh, this one is, as I said before, showing competency, but not being arrogant. That's a tough one. Again, that is, you kind of got to, and that'll come out, as I said before, in role playing, and that'll be detectable, if you're doing that. You want to dress well for the interview, of course. And even if you're going to a company that is staffed by hippies and they're dressed like hippies or whatever, and that's what you normally do, no. For the interview, you dress up. You can't be overdressed. And then after you get the job, you relax and you see what everybody else is doing, then you join in. That's fine. Okay. And again, you need to role play a number of times. You have to have a very good friend that will really be honest and really work on it, and should be kind of familiar with some of these. Hey, what questions should I ask? Okay. And ask from these other slides. Okay. More tips. You want to think about the question they're asking before answering, and you want to take a little time, maybe 20 seconds, to formulate, hey, why are they asking this? And then frame your answer that way, and make sure you make the right answer. If you just shoot off an answer to try to impress them that you are just Johnny on the spot, it don't work. You give it some thought. Also, try not to sound like you have you got a memorized answer. That it's a canned response. Try to give it a little live, yeah. And again, if you once know the answers you want to give pretty well to what questions, you know them well enough, you're going to give a different answer every time you're answered that or asked that question. You know it. Now, the answers themselves should be shorter. Shorter the better, but still need to be concise and thorough. Okay. The other thing is, no matter what the question is, you always want to be positive. Okay. And yeah, you can smile too much, but not a lot. Say, you should be smiling a lot, and again, laughing. I try to control that a little bit. Okay. One of the books I read in preparing for this course, they had REV, which was for relevant, exceptional, verifiable, which any of your responsibles needs to apply to the position, okay, needs to be exceptional beyond the call of duty, and needs to be verifiable, because they will check certain things, guaranteed. And here again, stories. If you can work stories in to your results for some of the questions, that's really good. Okay, practice, practice, practice on the role playing. Okay, you want to avoid controversial subjects like age, politics, religion, or race, and you don't initiate questions in that on those areas. And if the interviewer brings up something like that, it's perfectly all right, acceptable to say, well, I don't really care to discuss that. Excuse me. Okay, when asked, do you have any questions towards the end of the interview? That is really important. Uh, when I'd have a was the interviewer on a lot of projects, and somebody said no, uh, I that was a big thing with me, and I think a lot of people are that way. Hey, this guy really doesn't have the interest, or this lady, no interest, no job, forget it. Uh, when you do have questions, of course, you want to demonstrate your communication skills, your social savvy and your good judgment, all of that. And you want to try to show interest in the job. Uh, yeah, do you have you guys do this, and so forth. And, that's the one area your voice could get vary a little bit, put a little excitement in it. Okay. And again, the opposite. You don't want to sound like it's a canned answer. you know, yes, I want to know what you guys do for whatever. Uh, you should have done already some research on the company. Again, the internet is great. You can just look at the company and get some of the simple answers right off of that. Uh, Here's some example questions. Yeah, and you can pick out of any of these groups these questions about anything. It's pretty easy to come up with a couple questions that are not they're not shown on the company's web, necessarily, and their plans. They might be if they are critical and secret. They'll tell you. Don't worry about that. But you want to keep in mind a question that is showing interest on your part. Okay, during the interview, they're what we call silent messages. Okay, body language, eye contact. Are you never looking the person in the eye? You know, smiling too much or never smiling. Nervousness, again, you have to work on that, and that's a forgivable one out of this group, really. Posture, were you in the military? Were you in the Marines? Hey, well, it's posture's always good. Crossing your arms is bad. That looks like you're just ready to fight. Or playing with your hair, that's kind of like, oh, well, I'm just doing this interview, because I have to. Handshake. When you do a handshake, it should be firm, but not as hard where you're going to break the interviewer's hand. Okay. And certainly not like a fish, too light. Your voice, does it change in speed? I think it's okay to change in speed when you start getting excited about a certain uh, area or question. Monotone is bad, of course. Or does it sound rehearsed? A canned receipt. The other thing is like overuse of things like or that type of thing. I probably do some of that myself, and some of that's hard to break. But and listen again, listening is, and they can see you're listening. Boy, you want to be attentive. I mean, that's the biggest insult I think you can do is like you're just daydreaming and could be somewhere else because that person is giving you some of his or her time, and you want to be appreciative of that. Okay, manners. You do want to arrive on time. Probably not too early because that person has scheduled you at a certain time, meaning they are probably busy as heck with other things too. Uh, so, and you're just putting a little pressure on them by getting there early. So you get there pretty much exactly on time is good, and maybe just a few minutes or 5 minutes early, and that's fine. And then when you walk in the room, and generally it'll be in that person's office or it'll be in a conference room. But when you walk in, you wait to sit down. You don't just go sit down and plop in where you want. You wait for them to say, "Oh, just have a seat," and they'll generally point to a certain position. And they may want you left of them, right of them, straight across, whatever. You want your cell phone off at that time, of course, and you want to be thankful. You want to be humble, and I appreciate your time, and really appreciative of their time. And your appearance, well, they say, all the books, dress in business casual. Okay, that's no tie for a man. It's kind of casual. I say you can't overdress. So business casual is fine, or anything up. Uh, and I think you got to pay attention to that a little bit because that shows respect too. Okay, types of interviews, there's a lot. Phone screening, you got to get through eventually. Like it'll generally go, somebody will call you from the company, and it might be HR or it might be the line manager himself. Whoever it is, again, you got to be appreciative and forward and uh, humble. uh, and then usually after you on the phone screening, they will they'll say, well, how about an interview at so and so forth, and then you agree to it, or not. If you say, well, I got to go to the doctor that day, they'll understand, and take another day. Okay, meal interviews, they're kind of hard. You need more uh, icebreakers in a meal interview because a lot of times it'll be talking about the potential job and your qualifications, and then they'll jump into something like sports or whatever, and and then they'll come back. Okay, so you got to be kind of careful there. And generally, in the meal interview, it'll be more than one person. I think the toughest interview of the whole lot is when you have an interview with a number of people at the same time, because they will be shooting questions at you like this. You have to remember who asked what questions, and you may not get a chance to respond until there's been like 3 or 4 questions there, and you got to kind of remember what the answers are and the questions for each of those persons that ask it. Uh, that's, as I say, the toughest. Now, I think I had a strangest interview towards the end of my career, and it was actually with 3 senior vice presidents of this company, not at the same time, but sequentially. Uh, and all through all 3 interviews, there was no technical questions. I was ready. I'd been working on Oracle for like, I don't know, forever. And basically, what they had in mind, I thought about it afterwards, was strictly attitude. I did get the job, but their whole thing was they wanted to make sure the person they hired wouldn't come in with an AK-47 and wipe out the crew, I think, for one thing. Uh, and it was all on attitude. So maybe some of the interviewing things have changed over the years, too. I never had that type of interview before. Okay, when you're going to end the interview, you want to end it, as I say, on the right note. You want to show your appreciation again, show your interest in the job, uh, show your confidence in that you are the right candidate for this job. And then you're gonna follow up after that. If there's no response from them after a certain amount of time, you want to show your interest because you are interested. They may have dropped you. They may have said, no, there's a big delay. We got this big push on. Who knows? You don't know why there's a delay. But that is not to hassle them every hour, whatever, or to call within hours, but give it some amount of time. But then when you have no response, then you've got to contact them, of course. Okay, now that you're armed, you've got a swell, really good resume. You know what you're going to say and respond, how you're going to respond on an interview. You're ready to get an interview for a job. Okay, so you got to find the jobs that interest you. So we'll go into job searching here. Okay, where to look for jobs? Well, the big thing is internet again. I told you I'd say that. Uh, and you have really good job sites like Indeed, Monster, Dice. Dice was really good for me. LinkedIn, Career Builder, there's a bunch of them, and these are really good for two reasons. One reason is you put your profile and your resume on their repository on the internet job sites. Potential people that want candidates, like marketing outfits, they will find you, and then they'll contact you directly. So the better your resume is, or profile, boom, the better you are, to get some of that going. And the other thing is the big thing, I think too, is the fact that when they find jobs and they post jobs fast. Well, you tell the company like Dice, you say, well, you give them a profile. I said, well, what type of jobs are you looking for? I'm looking for a WMS analyst, okay? And what locations? Anywhere in the United States, okay? Whatever you kind of, and they'll say, and what? How often should we send you these hints? And you say daily, okay? So now your job search is great. You get up in the morning and you got these emails that says, hey, there's a job over here, and there's a job, here's another one, and you say, oh, I want to respond to these two or whatever. And at that point, you respond to them by sending your whatever they require. Like usually it's uh, uh, your resume, but you should send, and you do it on an email. But you should send a cover letter also with that, which is kind of top level again, trying to sell yourself, okay, on your strengths. Okay, at job fairs is another good thing, like Goodwill or college or industry, especially industry. It's in what industry you're interested in. You go there and the companies that have had a hard time and really looking for somebody, they're there. And you need to talk to them, and you need to have a paper version of your resume ready to hand out to several possible employers. Okay, networking is a great thing these days, and you got to be aware of that. And networking can be on a club level, it can be social, like Facebook and so forth, and it can be friends and associates. You might have a friend that's working in the same industry as you are, or it's likely, or he has a friend, or she has a friend that's working in, and they may know about a job that not being advertised or whatever, and you might get first in, and that really works. Again, internet is a saving grace here. Newspaper advertisements on a local level, yes, there are companies that, let's say, they're not as uh, internet savvy as others, and they still advertise on local papers because maybe their interest is, I don't want to bring somebody in where I have costs there. I want somebody local. So you need to keep checking those the paper too for that. Okay, internet job searching aids. All right, and as mentioned before, the job site repositories really are good. It gives you automatic updates and pretty advanced notices. Okay, it's really an advantage to find out about a possible position early as you can, because if it's late, job may be gone. Okay, filled. Okay, there's a thing called ATS in a lot of companies, big companies in HR. They are they want to take the incoming resumes and fill out their own personal company type uh, form, okay? So that everything coming into HR is consistent and they know where to check for what. Uh, Now, if there is a function that if you hit one of those, and all you have is the type of resume that's been used with generated with Word, and it's used bullet points, and other graphic things in your resume, it's going to look like hash, you know, and you're not going to get it. You may not even get past that point into HR. So if they ask specifically to fill out a certain form, you can do that manually and take a lot of time online in the case, or you can convert your normal resume into ASCII, and Microsoft does that, and I'm sure Mac has a facility for that, and so forth. So, and once that does that, you still have to go back and edit the fine points of the shreds that they left for any graphics you had in there. Okay, but it's worthwhile having that on hand so you can reply right away and you don't have to take the hour to fill out their stupid resume and repeat all of the work experience and all of that. Let's see. Okay, blogs. If you are in a certain industry and they have blogs on subject matter of that entry, if you can contribute to those blogs and so forth, you can kind of get known, and you can reference that and say, yes, during your interview, yeah, I wrote a little piece on this particular blog, and that's all points you gain, of course. Online photo. Yeah, you should have a nice online photo, respectable. And if you've got any other naughty photos or whatever, you better get them off, because employees are just as knowledgeable about surfing as you are, and they may find them. Okay. Okay, and just another reason for using your cell phone is as you move around, for the number to contact you, you'll have that. And of course, most cell phones, you can do email from the cell phone or receive it also. So that's a point of contact. You really need to have your cell phone known there. There's a thing called blasting, where you pay a certain amount of money, and for that money, they will send your resume out to 50,000 employers. Okay. We found that is just not effective. It's just, in most cases, they get one of these blast resumes, they'll dump it. They won't even get into HR. Okay, here's an example of a profile, online profile. I'm a volunteer for SCORE. What SCORE is part of SBA, and we help people get into business. And most of us have had our own businesses, so we know a lot of things to do and a lot of things not to do. Okay, we made mistakes, we had successes. Anyway, we have an online, when people go to SCORE, they want to find out somebody that talks their language that can help them. It's free. It's all free, but they want the right mentor. Okay. So you have a profile on here that kind of describes you at a top level of what you did during your career. And it goes on in to show your education. It's not a full resume, but it's enough to give them a sense of what your areas of expertise. Okay. Now here's a wild one. When I found this out, I thought that is really something. That I don't believe 80%, but they say the Department of Labor claims that 80% of the jobs available are unadvertised. Oh man, how do I get to, but even if it's 50%, it's a big number. But 80%, anyway, it's a big number. And how do you compete or find these jobs? Okay, well, if you find a company you are interested in, that might be one of them. They may have jobs in that area, so you send your a cover letter, and your resume to their HR department. If you know the manager's email, you can send it to him and go around HR a little bit. Uh, and of course, before you do that, you have researched that company and you're sure you want to work for that company. Otherwise you're wasting everybody's time, including your own. Okay, so once you get a posting, for a job you want to apply, what do? Well, you either generate a targeted resume or you say, no, my core resume is good. Generate a cover letter and your resume and you respond. And any other information that they want, that they call out in their uh, advertisement there. Then, if an interview is requested, oh, you're halfway home. That's good. You thank them for the opportunity and you say, I'll be there. Uh, After the interview, you send a letter of thanks for their time and effort because, again, their busy schedule or whatever, they gave you some time. They did. Uh, and of course, if the offer's made, then you either negotiate or accept or turn down. But in any of those cases, you're going to send a thank you note for their time and effort. Courtesy. Okay, cover letters. You want to express your interest and you want to sell yourself. Believe me, this is a sales type effort, period. And get over it. A lot of us in design and engineering really didn't understand the value of salesmen. Okay. And we don't like it. A lot of us don't, to be honest. However, this is the case. You got to sell yourself. Okay. That you're the strongest reason that you're the best candidate for this position. All right. And express, again, courtesy, your appreciation for their time and effort. Okay. References. You've got to make sure the reference is good. You call and the person is willing to give a reference. So you talk to that person, and you got to kind of find out. Well, okay, you'll give a reference. It's going to be a good reference, and if it is, then what you need to list is their name, their company they work for, and their contact information. And again, take that list of references with you to the interview. Okay, final steps once an offer is made. Okay, these are out of order a little bit because if you want to negotiate, that's perfectly okay. That doesn't go against you. If they didn't like that at all, that company, maybe that you don't want to work for that company. It's my take. But then if everything is right, negotiation might be, well, I like it. I really want to come, but the money's not quite what I need. Or I really need 3 weeks of vacation time instead of 2, or things of that order. Uh, Confirm the order when you feel that, okay, this is what I want. And then accept. Well, when you confirm, you accept the order or you reject the order. And again, if you're working for another company, you give notice verbally and in writing. So, what I have attempted to discuss during this presentation are the most important things that you need to pay attention to uh, in during your planning of your career. Uh, it's really worth the efforts to create or choose, first of all, to choose the right career for you, and then second of all, to create a really good resume, and third, to be comfortable and know how to respond during the interview. I've got a lot of experience myself on both sides of the table, the interview table, as a manager hiring and as a consultant applying for a position. And I used that. Plus, I read, studied a couple of books on both resume writing and interviewing. And I think all that information is probably valid. But again, it's just kind of a point for you to look at the bullet points and all of that stuff and suggestions and kind of make your mind up more. We're all logical engineers in a way, and you probably can pick out what's right for you. So good luck on your journey, and I think at this